do Batman, Green Arrow, and Rey from Star Wars all have in common? Believe it or not, they're all heavily inspired by a medieval outlaw who lived in the woods. That's right, we're talking about my favorite dude, Robin Hood. Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Books. I'm John, and today we're embarking on an exciting journey into the legendary world of Robin Hood. This isn't just a simple story about an outlaw in the forest. It's a tale that has boldly shaped our very understanding of justice, heroism, and rebellion for centuries. And I have to admit, this is one of my all-time favorite books. I've even probably watched every Robin Hood movie ever made. Yes, even the horrendous Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx version. From medieval ballads to modern blockbusters, Robin Hood has captured imaginations for over 800 years. You might be familiar with the basic premise: Robin Hood, the charming outlaw who steals from the rich to give to the poor. But trust me, the story goes much deeper. We'll be exploring everything from historical roots to its modern-day influence, examining the compelling characters that breathe life into the plot, and discovering why Robin Hood's adventures still strike a chord with us today. Each generation has reimagined Robin Hood, keeping the spirit of justice alive through the ages. If you ever wondered how a simple outlaw became literature's most enduring hero, stay tuned. But before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get started. The story of Robin Hood emerged during one of England's most turbulent periods, the 12th century. But here's something fascinating. Robin Hood wasn't born in the pages of a book, but in the oral traditions of medieval England. He started off as just a story that people passed down from person to person. The earliest Robin wasn't the nobleman we often see in modern adaptations. He was rougher, more dangerous, a yeoman, a common man pushed to the edges of society. In fact, in some early ballads, he's described as being quite violent, even refusing to hear mass until he shed blood. He was a really gritty outlaw. Watch how Robin transforms from a medieval outlaw to a noble hero as we move through history. It wasn't until the 15th and 16th centuries that writers began reshaping Robin into the noble-born hero for justice. This transformation reflects the changing attitudes about social mobility and justice in the medieval society. The addition of this noble background made him more palatable to upper-class audiences, while maintaining his appeal to the common people. So he became more of an all-around champion of justice. Sherwood Forest isn't just a setting, it's practically a character in and of its own right. The world of Robin Hood is centered in Sherwood Forest, Nottinghamshire. Today, while much of the ancient forest is gone, you can still visit the legendary Major Oak, a massive 1,000-year-old oak tree that, according to Folklore, served as one of Robin's hiding places. What a great place to set an adventure. The medieval England of Robin Hood's time was a society in transition. The Norman conquest had created deep divisions between the Anglo-Saxon common people and their Norman rulers. This culture clash provides the perfect backdrop for Robin's tales of resistance and justice. The forest itself becomes a symbol of freedom, a place where normal rules of society don't apply. It's a space for people to exist outside of the rigid social structure. Robin's territory stretched from Sherwood Forest to Nottingham Town, creating a perfect playground for his adventures. Let's meet the colorful cast of characters that make Robin Hood so memorable, each member of Robin's band bringing their own unique skills and personality to the story. From skilled archer to master strategist, Robin Hood's abilities go far beyond just stealing from the rich. Robin himself is a fascinating character, a man who chooses to live outside the law in order to serve true justice. His famous skill with the bow isn't just for show. It represents precision, discipline, and the ability to fight from a distance rather than engaging in direct combat like a traditional knight. He was an expert in guerrilla warfare. Little John earned his ironic nickname honestly. Depending on the telling, he was up to 7 feet tall. His introduction to the story is one of literature's great friendship origins. In nearly every version, Robin and Little John meet for a duel on a narrow bridge, fighting with quarterstaffs trying to outdo each other, until they finally both end up in the stream. Their battle turns into friendship, showing how Robin values skill and courage over social status. They immediately have massive respect for each other. From the 1938 film with Eugene Pallett to the modern BBC series, Friar Tuck has always been Robin's spiritual compass, albeit an unconventional one. Friar Tuck brings both spiritual authority and earthy humor to the band. His presence suggests that even members of the church could see the corruption in the system. Though he loves his food and drink, Tuck's true role is often as the group's conscience, reminding them of the deeper meaning behind their actions. He's a spiritual guide with a sense of humor. Will Scarlet adds youth and passion to the mix, sometimes serving as a hot-headed foil to Robin's more measured approach. Will Scarlet, often portrayed as Robin's younger cousin or nephew, brings a youthful energy and occasional impetuousness to the group. His quick temper and readiness to fight represent the raw anger at injustice that Robin's cause channels into more purposeful action. He's a constant reminder of the urgency of their fight. Maid Marian's role has evolved from damsel in distress to active heroine, reflecting changing views of women's roles in society. Maid Marian's character has perhaps evolved the most over time, showing how a story adapts to social change. In early ballads, she barely appears at all. Then she's portrayed as a love interest who needed Robin to save her. Modern versions often portray her as an accomplished fighter and strategist in her own right, someone who chooses to join Robin's cause rather than just being a love interest. Her position in the nobility also makes her a valuable spy and source of information about the sheriff's plans. Her skills and inside knowledge make her a key player in the resistance. The villains of Robin Hood are more than just antagonists. They represent the corruption and abuse of power that still resonates today. Prince John and the Sheriff of Nottingham serve as perfect foils to Robin's ideals. Prince John embodies corrupt leadership at the highest level, while the Sheriff represents how that corruption filters down through society. They are the perfect embodiment of an unjust system. The Sheriff of Nottingham is particularly interesting because he represents law and order gone wrong. He follows the letter of the law while completely missing its spirit, using his authority to enrich himself rather than serve justice. His frequent humiliation at Robin's hands adds an element of dark comedy to the tales. He's representation of someone who has gone through the motions without understanding the larger picture. Prince John, meanwhile, represents the corruption of privilege and power. His character is often portrayed as a study in contrast with his brother, King Richard the Lionheart. John is depicted as petty and selfish, where Richard is noble and just. This contrast helps emphasize the story's theme about legitimate versus illegitimate authority. He shows the audience what can happen when power is given to the wrong person. From Green Arrow to Rey in Star Wars, Robin Hood's DNA can be found throughout modern pop culture. Robin Hood's influence extends far beyond medieval literature. The character has become a hero whose pattern we see repeated throughout modern storytelling. Let's look at some of the examples. And what is it about this character that continues to inspire so many? In comics, we have characters like Green Arrow, who directly copies Robin Hood's gimmick of archery and social justice. Batman also follows a similar pattern, a wealthy person who works outside the law to fight corruption and help the oppressed. They both use their resources to help the less fortunate. In science fiction, Star Wars Rebel Alliance follows the Robin Hood template, a small band of heroes fighting against an oppressive empire. Even modern shows like Leverage or Money Heist follow the basic Robin Hood formula of stealing from the powerful to help the powerless. His influence transcends genres and media. The phrase Robin Hood tax and the image of the noble outlaw continue to inspire modern movements for social change. The core themes of Robin Hood, justice, resistance to tyranny, and helping the oppressed, remain deeply relevant today. At its heart, Robin Hood is about the tension between law and justice. Sometimes following the law can perpetuate injustice, while breaking it might serve true justice. This complex moral question remains relevant today as we continue to grapple with questions of social justice and systemic inequality. It's a question we see play out time and again in modern society. The story also emphasizes the power of community and collective action. Robin Hood never works alone. His success depends on his band of merry men, each contributing their own skills and strengths. This message about the importance of working together to fight injustice resonates strongly with modern audiences. This also highlights that it takes more than one person to fight injustice. The legend of Robin Hood continues to inspire us because of its core message, that ordinary people can stand up against injustice. It remains as powerful today as ever. Whether you're drawn to the swashbuckling adventure, the rich character dynamics, or the deeper themes of social justice, Robin Hood remains a compelling and relevant story for our times. It reminds us that one person, working with a committed group of allies, can make a real difference in fighting injustice. The story remains as relevant now as it did when it was first told. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Robin Hood, don't forget to like and subscribe to John's books for more literary analysis and discussion. What does Robin Hood mean to you? Has his story inspired you in any way? Let me know down in the comments. And remember, keep reading, keep thinking, and until next time, take care.